Good evening, my friends. I hope everybody had a great day today. I'm fixing to actually leave my restaurant, but decided to just kind of wait around a little bit and watch their lights turn on to make sure they're working. We're at that time of the year, so security is important. And then also just kind of watch their drive-through a little bit as I'm leaving for the day. They're doing so far so good. So now I'm just kind of waiting for the lights. But was gonna drop my tips on how to be an outstanding GM, the third pillar, but I wanted to recap or resend pillar number 2 before I send out number 3 with a few more examples, just to make sure I got the right message out there for my family members out there that maybe are looking for some extra coaching, some extra advice or training. And also for some folks out there to add and comment maybe what works for you guys. So our folks and our team members out there can also look at those and incorporate that into what they do every day. So again, here is pillar number 2 of tips of how to be an outstanding GM, starting with people development. You know, we go throughout our day saying, and I'm sure you've heard it too, GMs out there, supervisors tell you, work on people development, work on people development. It's people development's the problem. People development is the problem. So what is people development? Because we're real quick at just throwing that term out there, but what does it actually mean and what does it look like? To me, it means growing your team on purpose, not by accident. You know, we're all quick to promote, to train, to coach when we need it, when you're shorthanded, when something else might be going on. But me, I'll tell you, when I was a shift manager, I always had like 15 swing managers, you know, and I did area managers and all that as well before people development, before department managers became a thing with McDonald's. And everybody had a role, you know, but I did it on purpose, not by accident, not because I needed it. Now, were there times that I needed it? Yeah, had a couple leave or whatever, different shift, and I had to do something about that, right? But you want to stay ahead of the game, and that's what I try to do. I thought ahead. What do I need for the future? And I work towards it. As example, or another example of it, when you notice a crew member who's always smiling in the drive-thru, you know, you tap them and on their shoulder or whatever, or get their attention and tell them, hey, great job. Obviously, you do that coaching, that appreciative feedback, but you put them on board to be one of your next managers, or at least thinking about it, you know, because, you know, they're great with hospitality. So maybe you make them a crew trainer and, you know, start working on their hospitality ambassador training. You know, start developing them to be a future leader when you see something in them, right? You know, you start pointing people out. You know, again, doing it on purpose, not by accident. Don't wait till you need them. Start working now. You know, and when something happens, you got the next guy up, ready to go, and start training them to take over that spot, right? So don't wait for the openings. You know, you want to build up your bench. Sports metaphor, I'm big into sports. You want to build up your bench ahead of time. So when something does happen, like I was saying, it's next man up, right? All right, so that's people development, at least in my view. Second one, coaching first and not blaming. So what does it mean to me? You know, when something goes wrong, you know, you teach first. You know, you correct second. You know, you want to build that culture like that. So, example, right? A sandwich is missing bacon, or when, you know, procedure that's not right, not correct. Instead of going, why'd you mess that up? Maybe you go in and say, show me how you build a sandwich. Okay, let's fix this part right here. You know, and once you see them do it right, hey, you got it, or observe that they did it right. Hey, you got it, and show me again, right? Same standard, just different approach. Because when you go hard at people, they will get defensive, right? And, we want to be a people-first company. Well, in any business, you want to be people first. Because if you treat them right, they will treat your guests right. Like I said, build your people. Your people will build your business. So if you treat them right, they will help you build your business. You want to build that culture. So coaching first, not blaming. Number 3, conflict resolution. What does that mean, or what does that look like? You don't let drama cook. You solve it quick and fair. Fair and firm. I don't like letting things linger. When I know something is up, I want to address it pretty quick, because those things can build and later become a problem. So you want to deal with things right away. You can't be anybody that's afraid to have those hard conversations. It's really easy to talk to people when everything's going great. That's easy. But when there is an opportunity with somebody's performance or some drama, something's going on, you also want to address those. That is what makes a difference in whether you're a good GM or an outstanding GM. Okay? Example, right? 2 crew members are arguing about who does the lobby or who's going to clean the lobby. You pull both of them aside. You hear each side, or reset expectations. Divide the responsibilities with clarity, and you want to end like this. We're one team, and we definitely do not fight in front of the guests. There you go. You set your expectation. You told them what's up. You handled the issue, and we all move on. No drama. Cut it right there. You let them know what needs to happen, and it's done, right? So you definitely want to be stepping in when you see issues and opportunities. You don't want to be waiting around, because that same issue later on can escalate a little bit further, and people quit or worse. And you definitely don't want to be doing that in front of the guests. So you want to set your expectations. All right. So the next one, teamwork mindset. What does that mean? What does that look like? You want to create a store where no one says, "That's not my job." When I was first starting out, we cross-trained. We did a lot of different things. We helped out everywhere, right? Over the years, kind of got away from that. Partly some of our own, I don't want to say fault, but yeah, the kind of the expectations that we set for our people, like our front counter people, we tell them, don't move from the front counter, and they don't move and they don't help, or just stand there. There's different ways of communicating the same thing, right? Different approach. So some of the things that has been just maybe how we handle things, at least in my experience and what I've seen. But we definitely don't want to build a culture where people say, that's not my job. Another example is, it's busy in the drive-thru. You see the front counter free, like I said. People jump in. They go and help. And other people see that. The team follows because you set that tone. You could be doing something else also as a GM, and you see it's busy and you go in there and help. It doesn't mean you get stuck there, because you shouldn't be running the shift and anything, or the drive-through and stuff like that. But you jump in, you help. You set the tone. Other people see that. Or another example would be, your manager in training is struggling in the grill, so the shift leader jumps in to go help them out. You as the GM, now you help run a little bit for 10 minutes or so, while everybody else stays in position. Now you're setting that tone, what the shift manager should do and what other managers should be doing also when they're there to help. They cover for each other. Everybody helps each other out. It's teamwork. And everybody wins, right? Pillar number 2 is all about people. You know, and this is where outstanding GMs shine, because it's all about people. Like I said, build your people. Your people will build your business, right? You know, we grow our crew. We coach them. We don't blame. We fix conflicts fast and build a team that runs together. You don't get results without people. You know, and this pillar is all about the heartbeat of the restaurant. You know, and again, you know, I can't stress it enough. You know, it's all about people. So my friends, drop a comment on what you think. You know, maybe add your own experiences. Let's help our other McDonald's folks out there, or, you know, it could be other people outside of McDonald's, kind of help them run better shifts, especially McDonald's. I'm a little biased, I guess. But, you know, hopefully that helps for you guys. You know, but comment below, what do you think? And stay tuned for pillar number 3. I will send that out later tonight. So have a great evening. And my friends, I will see you on the next one.